She promised she was at her mom's, but her mom called me, asking where she was. I used to think I was good at reading people. You don't get through 6 years of marriage without developing a sort of sixth sense for your partner. The way they smile when they're hiding something harmless like a surprise or a gift. The way they breathe when they're angry but trying not to start a fight. I knew all of Jess's little tells, or at least I thought I did. That's what makes all of this harder to swallow. The cracks didn't come all at once. At first, it was subtle. She started keeping her phone face down on the table. She claimed it was a new habit to help her avoid distractions. I believed her. Then came the extra shifts at the hospital, her being too tired to talk after work, her growing impatience when I asked how her day was. None of it was glaring on its own, but it started to pile up like snow on a roof you forget to clear. I didn't want to believe anything was wrong. Jess and I had been solid. Not perfect, but solid. We made it through job losses, a miscarriage, and moving cities. She held me through panic attacks. I held her through depression. We were teammates. But now, she felt like a roommate who couldn't wait to leave. Still, I didn't accuse. I didn't snoop. I didn't even bring up my concerns more than a couple times. She always had an answer. Always tired. Always busy. Just give me time, she'd say. And I did. Until the night everything snapped. It was a Friday. Jess packed a small bag and told me she was heading to her mom's house 2 towns over. Said she needed a couple days to decompress. She kissed me quickly, like someone checking off a box, and walked out the door. I remember staring at that door long after it closed, with this weight in my chest I couldn't name. I ordered takeout. I watched a dumb action movie. I scrolled Reddit until my eyes hurt. I even fell asleep on the couch. Around noon the next day, my phone buzzed. It was Jess's mom. "Hey, Tom," she said in a light voice. "Is Jess okay?" I blinked a few times. "She's fine." "Why?" "Well, I was going to bake that peach tart she likes, but I haven't heard from her since Thursday. I thought maybe her phone died or something, but she never came." I swear the world tilted for a second. "What do you mean she never came?" "She said she might drop by this weekend," her mom replied, suddenly unsure. "But I figured she'd be here by now if she was going to. I just wanted to check in with you." I lied. I told her Jess had probably changed her mind and was staying with a friend instead. She seemed satisfied with that and we hung up, but my hands were shaking. I stared at the phone for a while, tried to convince myself there was a reasonable explanation. Maybe Jess had gone somewhere else to be alone. Maybe there was a last-minute plan she hadn't mentioned. But deep down, I already knew the truth. I just didn't want to face it yet. She wasn't with her mom, and she had lied to me about where she was going. I tried calling her, no answer. Texted her, left it simple. "Everything okay?" No reply. I didn't want to be the guy who tracks his wife's phone. I didn't want to cross that line, the line between trust and desperation. But the longer I stared at my unanswered messages, the more something inside me cracked. A year ago, when she got a new phone, I had helped her set up Find My iPhone. We synced it to the family group. I hadn't thought about that since. But now I opened the app, my heart pounding so hard I could barely tap the screen. It took a few seconds to load, and then there it was. Jess's phone was pinging from a location about 25 minutes away. Not her mom's town, not even close. It was a boutique hotel downtown, a goddamn hotel. I sat frozen for a long time, the screen glowing in my palm. My stomach churned. 1,000 thoughts raced through me, all screaming on top of each other. I didn't want to believe it. I didn't want to go there, but I knew I would. I needed to see it with my own eyes. I drove in silence. No music, no GPS. Just me, the hum of the engine, and the ache in my chest growing heavier with every passing block. When I reached the hotel, I didn't park in front. I circled the block and found a spot across the street, half hidden behind a delivery truck. The hotel was nice. Upscale. The kind of place people booked for anniversaries or affairs. I waited 10 minutes. 20? I nearly gave up, and then I saw her. Jess stepped out of the side entrance wearing the same coat she'd left the house in. But now her hair was let down, her face lit up in a way I hadn't seen in months. She was laughing, and she wasn't alone. A man followed behind her, tall, dressed in business casual, carrying a small duffel. They were close. Too close. As they walked toward the street, he reached for her hand. She let him take it. They kissed. Not a friendly kiss. A long, slow, familiar, like they'd done it 100 times before. I felt numb, like my body shut down everything but sight and breath. I didn't move. I didn't confront them. I just raised my phone and took a few pictures through the windshield. Then I drove away. I didn't cry. Not yet. I didn't scream or break anything. I just drove home, sat on the bed we used to share, stared at the wall until night turned to morning. Jess didn't come home that night. She didn't even text. And I didn't sleep, because now I knew, and nothing, absolutely nothing, would ever be the same. The next morning, I was still sitting on the edge of our bed when I heard the front door creak open, keys rattling, soft footsteps. Jess was back. I didn't move. She walked into the bedroom like nothing had happened. Her hair was a bit tousled, no makeup, wearing the same outfit as Friday, like she'd slept in. She dropped her bag beside the dresser and gave me a tired smile. "Hey," she said softly. "Sorry I didn't call. Mom and I ended up staying in all weekend. No signal out there." I stared at her. No expression. No words. She sat on the edge of the bed beside me, like she didn't notice the 1,000-pound silence between us. "You okay?" she asked, voice gentle. "You look, I don't know, tired." I wanted to scream. I wanted to ask how she could lie to my face so easily. But more than anything, I wanted to watch her do it. I wanted to see how far she'd go. So I swallowed my rage, nodded, and said, yeah, just didn't sleep well. She leaned over and kissed my cheek. Same? Same. I let her walk away without a word. I watched her change clothes. I watched her toss her bag in the closet. And as she moved around the house, humming softly, sipping coffee like a normal Sunday, something inside me hardened. This wasn't a one-time thing. This wasn't a mistake. Jess was leading a double life, and I had just stepped into the middle of it. But I wouldn't confront her. Not yet. I'd seen people lose everything because they acted on emotion. They blew up, screamed, accused, and were left with nothing but regret and tangled facts they couldn't prove. I didn't want revenge. Not yet. I wanted the truth. Every piece of it. And I wanted her to watch her lies burn. That day, I started documenting. I downloaded a clean copy of the photos I'd taken at the hotel. I screen recorded the Find My iPhone ping with a timestamp. I started syncing her public Venmo activity, checking for payments that looked out of place. And I bought a notebook, a black moleskin, and titled the first page Jess's Other Life. Every day that week, I wrote in it. When she said she had to work a late shift, I wrote the exact time she left and when she returned. When she got a text and flipped her phone face down, I wrote down the time and who I thought might be messaging. When she came home smelling like a different shampoo, I noted the scent. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't paranoid. I was done being naive. By Wednesday, I had a pattern. Jess would leave for work by 7 a.m. She'd usually text me around noon with a busy today, talk later, then silence until after 9. On the surface, it looked like an overloaded nurse on double shifts. But I remembered something. Her friend Megan had once told me that Jess switched to admin shifts recently. 9 to 5, desk work, no overnight patients. Which meant she wasn't at the hospital at all some nights. Thursday morning, I called Megan. Hey, just checking in. Jess said you two were working the same shift last week. How's everything going there? There was a pause. Then Megan replied, wait, she said we worked together? She hasn't been at the hospital much lately. She's been taking personal days. I thought you guys were on vacation or something. I thanked her and hung up. My hands were cold. Every answer created more questions. How long had this been going on? Who was the guy at the hotel? Was he married? Was she planning to leave me? Or worse, was she just stringing us both along? That Friday, Jess said she was going to her mom's again. I almost laughed. She kissed me goodbye like she always did. Too quick, too casual. Be back Sunday, she said. The door closed. 15 minutes later, I followed her. This time, I didn't park down the street. I drove 3 cars behind her, far enough to be unnoticeable, close enough to stay with her. She wasn't heading to her mom's. She went straight to the same hotel. I watched her meet the same man in the lobby. They hugged. They kissed again. They went up the elevator together. I snapped more photos. That night, I drove to her mom's house. She opened the door in her robe, clearly surprised to see me. Tom, is everything okay? I just wanted to see if Jess made it here safely, I said, forcing a polite smile. Her expression shifted. She's not here, I nodded. That's what I thought. She let me in, made tea, and we talked. I didn't tell her everything, but I told her enough. Her face dropped when she realized her daughter had been using her as an alibi. I can't believe this, she whispered, staring into her mug. She used to be honest. I don't know who she is and neither do I said. We sat in silence for a while. I left with something I didn't expect. Her support. She deserves to be called out, her mom said, voice firm. When you're ready, let me know. And just like that, I had an ally. I didn't go home that night. I stayed in a cheap motel and stared at the ceiling, wondering how many more lies were hiding beneath the surface of our life, wondering who this woman really was and how long she had been pretending. I knew the truth now, but the world didn't. Not yet. And when it did, I wanted it to echo. I returned home Sunday evening, a few hours before Jess. I didn't want her to find me missing and start asking questions. I wanted her to think I was still blind. Still, the sweet, trusting husband waiting at the window like a fool. I deleted the call log with her mom, hid the photos on an encrypted drive. I even reheated some leftover pasta and left the dirty plate in the sink, just to sell the illusion. At 9:17 p.m., the front door opened. Hey, babe, Jess called out, setting her bag down with a sigh. You wouldn't believe the traffic coming back. I almost said something then. Almost turned to her and asked if the hotel bed was worth the lie. But I didn't. I just smiled and asked, did you and your mom have a good time? She nodded, eyes lighting up like stage lights. Yeah, we went antique shopping. Got lunch at that little place by her church. Honestly, it was really nice. I needed it. I wanted to scream. Instead, I said, glad you had a good weekend. She smiled, kissed me, went to shower. That night, I watched her sleep like nothing had happened, and I realized something that made my skin crawl. She wasn't guilty. Not in the way you'd expect. She slept peacefully. No tossing. No turning. No twitch of anxiety. Like the weight of the lie didn't bother her anymore, because it had become routine. The next morning, while she got ready for work, I copied her car keys. I had bought a cheap key duplicator online, watched a dozen YouTube tutorials, and practiced on my own set. Took me all of 15 minutes while she showered. She left at 7:06 a.m. At 7:20, I followed her again. She wasn't going to the hospital. I already knew that. This time, she went to a quiet residential area. Upscale condos. I parked a block away and watched from the rear view. She pulled into a garage attached to Unit 14B. A man came out. Same guy. Dark hair, button-down shirt, mid-30s, confident. He kissed her before she was even out of the car. She laughed and ran her fingers through his hair. They disappeared inside. I sat there for 2 hours. When she didn't leave, I got out and walked past the building, just to memorize the layout. On my way back to the car, I saw something that made my heart stop. A stroller, sitting on the porch of the unit next to his. And then a woman opened the door of 14A. She looked tired. She had a baby in one arm and a bag of groceries in the other. She glanced at me, nodded politely, and went back inside. The man Jess was seeing lived next door to a young mother, or worse, with one. The idea hit me like ice water. What if he wasn't just cheating with Jess? What if he was cheating on someone too? That night, I searched public property records. Took me less than 10 minutes to find the name on the deed for 14B. Daniel. I cross-referenced it on Facebook. His profile was private, but there was one tagged photo, him holding a baby girl, smiling, with a woman who looked like the one from earlier. The post was from 6 months ago. Caption, my everything. I clicked on the woman's profile. Lauren 4, public, married, new mom, and a recent post saying, first week back at work. I miss her already. Jess wasn't just cheating with a man. She was helping him betray a wife and child. It was like being punched from every direction at once. And still, I didn't say anything. I added a new section in my notebook. Daniel 4, married, infant daughter, Jess involved. The plan shifted. It wasn't just about betrayal now. It was about exposure. I called Jess's mom and asked if she could host a small family dinner in 2 weeks. Said it was for our anniversary. Jess's mom was thrilled. Said she'd invite her sisters, her cousin Alex, and maybe even a couple friends. A nice surprise, casual but special. That gave me time. Time to plan. I needed everything to be airtight. No screaming, no impulsive speeches. Just facts, photos, timestamps, evidence. I downloaded a slideshow app, practiced transitions, set it to autoplay, each photo with a short description. I didn't need to narrate. I wanted the evidence to speak for itself. By the time I finished, I had over 40 slides. Jess leaving the house, the hotel entrance, the lobby hug, the kiss. The second weekend, same pattern, the house, the embrace. Screenshots of Daniel's Facebook, photos of Lauren and the baby, their wedding registry, the shared mortgage. Every piece stacked like bricks in a courtroom. I labeled the last slide. How long would you have kept lying? On the day of the dinner, Jess wore her red dress, the one she knew I loved. She curled her hair. She was in a good mood. Maybe she thought the distance between us was finally closing. She had no idea. Her mom welcomed us with hugs and warm casseroles. Her aunt brought a bottle of wine. Cousin Alex joked about our perfect marriage. Jess laughed and squeezed my hand. God, she was good. Halfway through dinner, I stood up. I brought something, I said. Just a little tribute to us. Since it's been 6 years, Jess lit up. Really? I pulled the USB drive from my pocket and plugged it into the TV. Everyone turned. The first photo appeared. Jess, exiting the hotel. She froze. The next slide, her holding Daniel's hand. Then the kiss. I didn't look at her. I kept my eyes on the screen. By slide 5, her mom was asking questions. By slide 10, Jess was pale. By slide 15, her cousin covered her mouth. No one said anything. The last slide hit. Bold white text. How long would you have kept lying? The silence after was louder than any scream. Jess finally whispered, Tom, what is this? I turned to her, and for the first time in weeks, I let myself feel it all. The rage, the sorrow, the betrayal. I know everything, I said. The hotel, the house, Daniel, his wife, his baby. And I know you lied to your mom. To me. To everyone here. Her mother stood up, tears already in her eyes. You said you were with me. I covered for you, Jess. What did you drag me into? Jess stammered. It's not what it looks like. It's complicated. No, I cut in. It's not. It's very, very simple. I picked up my coat. I'll be gone by morning. Then I walked out the door. Behind me, everything burned. A week passed before I saw Jess again. In that time, I'd found a short-term lease on a small apartment above a bookstore. It smelled like old paper and dust and something oddly comforting. The rent was cheap. The walls were thin, but it was mine. For the first time in 6 years, I had space that didn't have her scent in the pillows, or her hair stuck in the drain. She showed up unannounced on a Thursday afternoon, just as I was coming up the stairs with a sack of groceries. I heard the footsteps before I saw her. She was sitting on the floor outside my door, knees pulled to her chest like a kid waiting to be let back in. Hey, she said softly. I didn't respond. I stepped past her and unlocked the door. Can we talk? She asked. I didn't invite her in. I just stood there in the doorway and waited. She got the hint and followed me inside. Her eyes scanned the tiny living space. One table, a couch that folded into a bed, a desk with a laptop and a lamp. It looked like a life paused mid-build. I didn't know where else to go, she said. I thought maybe you'd want to hear me out. I crossed my arms. Then talk. She took a deep breath, tears already rising in her voice. I messed up. I know I did. There's no excuse for what I did to you, what I did to us. I lied, and I cheated, and I broke everything we had. And I know I don't get to ask for anything anymore, but I'm sorry. I need you to know that. I stared at her. Sorry for which part? The lying? The gaslighting? Or the fact that you kept using your mom as a shield? She flinched. All of it, she whispered. I was drowning. You'd been so distant. After we lost the baby, we never talked about anything real, and it felt like you weren't even there. I started feeling invisible. I was there, I snapped, louder than I intended. I was grieving. I was breaking. And you never said a damn word. Jess wiped at her eyes. I didn't know how. No, I said coldly. You just found someone else who made you feel seen, and you built a second life instead of trying to fix the one we had. She didn't argue. She sat on the edge of the couch, fidgeting with the hem of her sleeve. He left me, she said after a moment. Dan, the second his wife kicked him out, he stopped answering, ghosted me completely. I wanted to feel satisfied. I didn't. I guess we both underestimated his courage, I said. Her voice cracked. I didn't think I'd end up alone. You didn't just end up here, Jess. You walked here. Step by step, lie by lie, silence settled over the room like smoke. Then she said something that almost broke me. Did you ever love me? Really love me? I looked at her, and for a moment I didn't see the cheater, the liar, the woman who betrayed. I saw the 23-year-old girl who once fell asleep in my lap watching documentaries, the woman who cried when I proposed, who painted quotes on our bedroom wall because she believed in love and permanence and happy endings. And maybe that's what hurt the most. I loved you so much it made me blind, I said. I loved you enough to ignore the signs. Enough to give you 1,000 chances before I even suspected you needed one. I loved you to the point where I forgot to protect myself. Her face crumpled. She asked if we could try therapy, if we could start over. I told her I wasn't interested in rebuilding something with someone I couldn't trust to hold a match without setting the whole thing on fire. She cried hard, but I didn't comfort her. She left eventually, and the silence she left behind felt less like loneliness and more like peace. Over the next few days, she sent more messages. She emailed once, a long, rambling apology with half-promises and broken memories stitched together like a ransom note. I didn't reply. I started seeing a therapist, not because of her, but because I realized how badly I'd let myself shrink to fit inside a relationship that no longer saw me. I started running again. I took on freelance work I used to decline. I rebuilt, brick by brick. One night, 2 weeks after she left my apartment, I got a text from Lauren. Just wanted to let you know. Divorce papers are filed, and he's trying to act like he's the victim. Pathetic. I smiled for the first time in days. I'm glad you're moving forward, I replied. You deserve better. So does your daughter. She wrote back, so do you. And somehow, that meant more than any closure Jess could have offered. The divorce was finalized quietly. No lawyers screaming in courtrooms. No dramatic fights over assets. Jess didn't contest anything, maybe because she knew there was nothing left to fight, no marriage worth saving, no version of herself that she could defend it. She moved back in with her mom. From what I heard through mutual friends, she tried to rebuild. Therapy, long walks, a job transfer to another hospital in a different city. I don't know how much of it was sincere and how much was guilt, but I didn't really care. Not anymore. I kept the apartment above the bookstore. After everything, I found comfort in its impermanence. The floor creaked. The water pressure sucked, but it was mine. And when you've spent years living in a house filled with someone else's perfume and their secrets stitched into the walls, having something that belongs only to you is a strange kind of freedom. People ask me if I'm okay now. It's a weird question. What does okay even mean after something like that? I survived. That's something. I didn't let her betrayal shatter me. Not all the way. There were nights where I lay awake staring at the ceiling, trying to figure out how someone could look you in the eyes for 6 years and still have enough lies left in them to drown you. But eventually, the pain stops echoing so loudly. Eventually, you start hearing your own voice again. One night, about 2 months after the divorce was finalized, I was walking home with a coffee in hand when I ran into Lauren again. Total coincidence. She was coming out of a bookstore with her daughter balanced on one hip and a bag of used paperbacks in the other. We both froze for a moment. Then she smiled. Hey, she said. I smiled back. You look good. She looked down at the baby and then back at me. She's teething. I haven't slept in 3 nights. But thank you. We stood there awkwardly, half laughing, half processing. You doing okay? She asked after a beat. I nodded. Better. Still remembering how to be a person again. I get that. We talked for a few minutes. Small things. Work. Books. Therapy. She was taking writing classes now. Said it helped her unpack the mess in her head. I told her I started painting again. Just silly abstract stuff, but it gave my hands something to do when my mind wandered. Before she left, she said something that stuck with me. You know, she said, it's not your fault you didn't see it coming. I blinked. What? I spent a long time blaming myself for being blind. But someone who lies that well, that smoothly, that consistently, it's not about you. It's about them. We didn't miss the signs because we were stupid. We missed them because we trusted. I didn't know what to say to that. But it sank in deeper than I expected. She gave me a quick hug and left. I watched her disappear down the street with her daughter babbling in her arms. And for the first time, I didn't feel bitter. I didn't feel broken. I just felt human. There's this idea people have that once you find out the truth, everything makes sense. That the betrayal snaps everything into focus, and suddenly you see the relationship clearly for what it was. But the truth? It doesn't come all at once. It comes in waves. The first is pain, the kind that steals your breath and makes your hands shake. The second is rage, hot and loud and blinding. And the third is silence. Numbness. Like your heart hit a wall and your mind's just watching the dust settle. But eventually, if you're lucky, there's one more wave. Clarity. That's what this is now. Not revenge. Not sadness. Not even forgiveness. Just clarity. I still have that black notebook. The one I filled with Jess's lies and timestamps and screenshots. I keep it in a drawer. Not because I need to relive it, but because sometimes it helps to remember how far I've come. Some nights, I flip through it and smile at how methodical I was, how patient, how deliberate. It's the proof that I wasn't crazy, that I didn't imagine it, that I faced it head on, even when it tore everything apart. And sometimes, I think about that voicemail she left me, the one I deleted. I wonder if she meant any of it. But then I remember it doesn't matter. Because in the end, the apology you never needed means less than the peace you finally earned. And I'm finally at peace.